In this video tutorial, we're looking at the kanji that you'll need to write about telephone numbers. Let's begin with the word for telephone. Den wa. Denwa. Telephone. The first character is den, and its core meaning is electricity. It's made up of two elements. Let's have a look at them. On top we have this one here, and that one means rain. Then we have this bit here, and that represents a rice field. And finally we have a bolt of lightning here, going from the rain clouds up the top all the way down to the rice fields at the bottom. Now the top element, the element which represents rain, is a simple pictograph. The top stroke going from left to right, that represents the heavens. Then underneath we have the cloud. It's a box shape, so we go down on the left and all the way across and down on the right without lifting our pen or pencil off the paper. Then we're going to join the heavens and the clouds together like that with one stroke. We're going to pop in the raindrops, 1, 2 on the left, 3, 4 on the right, left to right, and that's the element meaning rain. And you'll find that element in many characters which have something to do with the weather. Now under the rain we've got this shape here, which is like a grid. Down on the left, again that box shape is always the same, across and all the way round and down on the right without taking our pen off the paper. Then we're going to do the middle line across there and close our box from left to right. And then finally comes our lightning bolt all the way down from the rain up the top, hitting the rice fields there. Now if you're not sure why that grid shape was used to represent rice fields, again it's a simple pictograph, and let's have a look at an aerial photograph of a rice field. Now you can see they've been planted in kind of grids, and if you have a little look carefully up the top, can you see here they're canals which are actually full of water, and then along here you've also got canals which feed the rice fields with water. And that's because rice plants, when they're very young, they actually have to grow in a flooded field, and you have to have these irrigation canals to allow your rice to grow properly. So this grid system is very, very typical of East Asian rice fields, and that's why the element looks as it does in our kanji. So that's electricity, rain on the top, paddy fields underneath, and a bolt of lightning shooting down from the rain clouds to the paddy fields. Let's have a look at our next character in telephone, and that's wa. Wa also has two elements, one on the left here meaning word, and one on the right here meaning tongue. Now if we have a look at the element on the left hand side, that's the one meaning word, we can see that it's got these lines coming out the top. Now that's the words coming out of the mouth, and we're just going to call them blah, 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 blah. And this shape here is a very primitive pictograph of a mouth down on the left, classic box shape, across and all the way around on the right without taking your pen off, and close the box off left to right. So there we have word, blah, 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 mouth. On the right hand side, the top element here, 1, 2 left to right, and 3 down the middle, that looks very much like the character meaning 1,000, but actually it's an ancient pictograph of a tongue shooting out of this picture here, which is another mouth down on the left, across and round on the right, and close it off. So here we've got our mouth, and there we've got our forked tongue shooting out. So tongue on the right, words on the left, put them together and it means to speak. The pronunciation is wa, and if you put that together with den, you get denwa, or telephone. Electricity and talking. Electric, talking, telephone. Next we have bang, go, and that's the number from telephone number. Let's have a look at bang. Now this character, which means order, as in are you first, are you second, are you third or fourth, that's the core meaning of this character. But there are 3 easily identifiable elements. The first one is this top one, which is a single stroke, and that represents 1. Underneath that is this element here, which represents a rice grain, uncooked rice grain. And finally on the bottom here, I'm sure you can recognise that classic rice field shape. Okay, so we start writing this character. On the top we put that 1 element in, and it actually goes from right to left, which goes against the general rules of writing kanji, which is left to right, top to bottom. So the first character is right to left, and then underneath we have this rice grain character. Now there's a basic shape in there that I'm not sure whether you could see. Let's just see if I can point it out for you. And that's this one here that goes across, down, left and right. Now normally that character has a much longer trunk down the middle here, this bit here. But in this character it's shortened a little bit, but it's still identifiable as a tree. Now what we're going to do to make the rice grain is we're going to add these 2 strokes left and right, but not in that order. We're going to put the 2 little extra strokes, which I like to think of as rice grains, we're going to put those first. So let's have a look at that one more time. Stroke on top 1, then we put rice grain on the left, rice grain on the right, then we're going to do our tree shape. Across, that's your branch, down for the trunk, left hand branch and right hand branch, and that represents a single grain of rice, and I like to think of it as exploding rice, rice exploding off a tree. So 1 rice grain, then down here on the bottom we've got our rice field, our paddy field again, down on the left, across, don't take your pen off the paper, all the way around on the right, and then down in the middle, across, and close off our box, left to right. And there we have 1 exploding grain of rice in the rice field. And that means order or number. The first grain of rice to explode in the rice field is number 1. Now we're going to add to that the word go to make bango the number of telephone number. Here we have go, and you can possibly identify already that top element, which means mouth. Now that bottom element is not that clear what it is, but it looks very much like a 5, a Western number 5. So I think that's the easiest way to remember it. So we've got a mouth on top and a 5 underneath. Its original meaning is number, something to do with number. Now if we want to write this character, we've got to put our mouth on top, down on the left, across on the right, all the way around without taking our pen off, and finish our box left to right on top. So there's our mouth, and underneath it's going to be saying 5. That's our favourite number, number 5. On the top, just like a number 5, and down here and around we go. The only thing is we're going to make that bend just there, a little bit squarer than we would in an actual 5. And of course our top stroke there is going to extend a little bit further than it normally would. So there we have mouth on top, the number of 5, and that means number, and we're going to add it to bang to give us bang go, number from telephone number. The final kanji that we're going to be learning in this series is nan, which means what. It has an alternative pronunciation, nani, but we're going to be using it as in what number. So we're going to be saying nam bang. So the pronunciation we want is nan. Let's see if we can recognize the elements in this character. First of all, on the left-hand side, we have the element which means person. If you recall, the kanji for person looks like that. But when we squish it up to make it part of a bigger kanji, then it ends up with this shape here. We've got a surrounding element here, which looks a little bit like a lopsided T. And in the centre, you'll recognise mouth. And this is the way we write it. We pop our person in on the left, same stroke order as the full kanji, but all squished up. Our next stroke is a little counterintuitive. It's not quite what you'd expect because it goes across the top here. And the second part of this element will wait till the end. So we've done our stroke across, that's the top part of our T, and then we do the mouth. So down on the left, across and round on the right without taking your pen off, close the box off left to right, and of course it's a mouth, not a box, and put in the rest of the T. There we are. This person here has a T for a mouth. What's going on? What? Or in Japanese, none, none. What's going on? None of this makes any sense. Now to this kanji, we're going to add bang, which we've just learned. So here we have bang, and I'm sure you remember one. Rice grain on a tree. In a rice field. And that gives us nambang, what number? And those are all the kanji that we need to write about telephone numbers.